So in my introduction to Lechadodi, I spoke about brides and grooms, each with anticipation, with my bride over my shoulder now. And in part, I do so as I bring my daughter to mind, because I had the opportunity to FaceTime with our daughter, Anna, who's engaged. And having a daughter who's engaged gives me a whole new perspective on the anticipation of the wedding, an anticipation that is made all the more complex by this as a COVID time where it's unclear how to anticipate what will unfold in terms of when they can get married, and will her friends be able to be there, and will they be able to dance with each other. And so that's been part of our conversations. And in that regard, I wanted to teach three things from our Torah reading of last week about marriage that leads into the Torah reading of this week, which is Toldot. Because in Toldot, you already have Isaac and Rebekah married, and Rebekah is pregnant with twins. And so much of Toldot is about sibling rivalry between Esav and Jacob that I thought would be more romantic tonight. And it's Shabbat. Shabbat's the time of feeling love and the joy of coming into oneness. And so a word about our Torah reading for context. In our Torah, Isaac will meet his bride as an arranged marriage. It will be Abraham who will say to his servant, I don't want my son Isaac, and some say he was as old as 37 at this point, to go looking for a bride, to leave our land. So you will be the one to return to the place of his mother, my hometown, and there find somebody who is more akin, even as kin, to us. And so the test that the servant devises to know who is that bride that's suitable, he says as a prayer, let it be God, the woman who not only offers me water at the well, but my 10 camels. 10 camels equals 120 gallons of water. Let that woman be the bride for my master's son. And sure enough, Rebekah is at the well, displays this quality of generosity of spirit as she eagerly offers the stranger water to drink, and then waters all the camels. And so he goes back to her home, meets her family, finds that indeed Rebekah is related to Abraham, to Sarah, and says, my master is quite wealthy. He brings lots of gold nose rings that he gives to her as a gift. And the family says, let her stay for a while. Don't rush. She shouldn't rush to leave with you. And he says, no, my master is waiting. I have to go. And she answers with one word, Elech, I will go. And the family now, at the end of the last verses that will lead into this week's Torah reading, describe that chapter 24, verse 59. They let their relative Rebekah go, along with her attendant. They blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister, grow into thousands of myriads. May your descendants inherit the gate of their foes. Those words in Hebrew are what is recited traditionally at a ceremony of bedekin. So when the veil is getting ready to be placed on the bride, as she's getting ready to begin her journey to the chuppah, these are the words that are echoed. May you, our sister, grow into thousands of myriads. May your descendants inherit the gates of their foes. A blessing of both the fulfillment of the hope of a large family, and that family will dwell in safety. And so the story continues. Isaac was on his way coming from Be'er Lachai Roi. He was then living in the Negev area. Mind you, he's not living with his father at this point. Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. He raised his eyes and he saw camels approaching. When Rebekah looked up and saw Isaac, she fell from the camel. She asked the servant, "Who is this man coming toward us in the field?" Which is to say, she was literally head over heels, falling off the camel, even before she knew that this was her intended. And so there's that element of an arranged marriage. She doesn't know who this man's son will be, but she clearly, at least as it's described, is very smitten at the outset. The servant told Isaac all that had happened. And Isaac brought the girl into his mother Sarah's tent, who had already passed, and he married Rebekah. And here's the other key line. So the first teaching is the teaching of the Bedekin, the blessing that's still recited. The second is, if you're fortunate, you see the other and you go, that's the guy. But the third quality, because every relationship is different, every falling in love is different, reads as follows. Vayikach et Rivka, and he took Rebekah, Rivka, v'tihilo leisha, and she was to him a wife, v'yihaveha, and he loved her. So the teaching there of chuppah is that in this case, his falling in love had a different order than hers. That too happens in relationships. His falling in love with her was a result of making a commitment. First, he made the commitment to marry her. He brought her into the tent to say, she is my wife. And only then, v'yehaveha, did he love her. And regardless of how couples do meet, what I have learned is that the quality of love is enhanced by commitment, is enhanced by a sense that I do choose this person from all the other possible partners, with the expectation that I will be more fully myself in relationship with this other, and thereby be elevated. Those are the three steps that Shabbat is identified with, namely the act of holy making. Kiddushin is the word the rabbis use for marriage. 3 steps: to choose from among all potential, to separate out as the seventh day is separated from the other 6, to find in coming into Shabbat a quality of greater wholeness, that quality of calm that allows us to see the world more completely and to marvel over its beauty, but to do so with that third dimension, and that's to be elevated, to see the world more than through only our eyes, to see the world through the eyes of generations before and perhaps after us, to see the world through the eyes of the Creator as we become vessels on Shabbat of God's presence, vessels of love. Closing story. Most of the world geographically today still has arranged marriages. In India, in China, in Africa, largely people are married through their parents choosing the right groom or the right bride. And so a story about Anna. When Anna got to New York 3 years ago, our son Joey, her older brother, was having a birthday party. And Anna came. She'd only been in New York a couple of weeks, and Joey's girlfriend said, "Why don't you introduce your sister to one of your friends?" To which he replied, "I don't trust any of my friends with my sister, except maybe Lev, who I'm in business school with. I like Lev. he might be trustworthy. Well, Lev wasn't there at that particular party, and 2 weeks later, Anna is on JSwipe, which is linked to Facebook, as is Lev, and they match, and they see that there's a relationship to Joey Spitz. So Lev calls Joey and says, "Can I go out with your sister?" And Anna calls and says, "Can I go out with your friend?" And they've been together ever since, awaiting their wedding. And so my blessing for them, my blessing for all those who seek their beshert, their intended, is that as Rebecca found her beshert in Isaac, and as her family blessed her, so may all those couples be blessed. And may all of us who have the blessing of a partner, may we find in that partner those three qualities that are the qualities of Shabbat, the qualities of commitment, the qualities of wholeness, the quality of holiness. And on this Shabbat, may we all feel the gift of love. Amen.